The Queens of Spice podcast is created for adult audiences only. Our show contains cursing, vulgar content, dark humor, descriptions of sexual acts and desires, and is not suitable for listeners under the age of 18. Some episodes also contain themes which may be triggering for listeners. Please take care of yourself.
Cool, let me read about this citrusy pussy. Woo!
Welcome to the Queens of Spice podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Ragachu. I'm here with my two BFFs, Ash and Jack. Hey, guys.
Hi.
It's a super special episode. We're here with our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
It's been a year. Isn't that crazy? How crazy is that?
That's insane.
That's wild. That's insane.
Crazy.
Wild.
So happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday. Let's do shots.
We don't have any shots right now. I got beer.
I love how it started off. We're drinking every episode. And now we're like, sober's probably not bad.
Now we're like, oh, we're too old to drink every episode.
When you record in the middle of the afternoon, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't hit the same.
It's true.
Not when you're almost 40.
Not when you're getting up there. So today for the season 1 finale, technically, the start of season 2, somewhere in the middle, we're talking about the Fae Queens Captive by Sierra Simone. This was published in 2022 as part of a series called the Peculiar Tastes series, and that was like a series of 6 books that surrounded the night market, which was for like Samhain, which is like Halloween basically. And it was the night market. So this is like the last book in that series. What's that? Samhain?
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Samhain.
Sure.
You're like, whatever, Ash.
Whatever.
Shut up.
So this is the last book in the series. They like basically closed down the market for the year at the end of this. That's the whole thing. And the other books in the series are written by Jenny Nordbach. Katie Robert wrote the second book, which is tied into the Bargainer's Demon series.
Yep.
Adriana Herrera
Pegging was one of the tags in that.
Yes, magical pegging. That was amazing. Adriana Herrera, Nikki Sloan, and Zoe Castle wrote the other books. They're all like obviously different authors, different stories, and different pieces of different stories. And like where Katie Roberts especially like tied into the other series that she was writing at the time. It's kind of like a nice little like novella aside to that series, which was really great.
Romano. I loved it.
Yes, they're such a great character. So that was like, that's where this book came from. So you don't have to read the other books in order to understand this one.
Nope.
I think between the two of us, we've only read that other one book, The Demon's Bargain.
I started reading the first one, and I can't remember why I stopped. But because I am that person that's like, I have to read all of them. And then I was like, no, I don't need to read all of them. And then
this is one of the few times where it's like you really don't need to read all of them.
That's a very healthy thing to start doing. Not finishing shit you don't like.
This is not call out hour, thanks.
No, I'm saying it for me too, because I'm like that too.
You're projecting.
I feel like it's appropriate to be playing with my penis during this episode.
Yeah, I gifted Ash a little penis for her birthday, and she's playing with it. It's nice.
It's a great fidget, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's very squishy, and I should say a gift or a penis. It's like a mini bad dragon. It's a mini bad dragon.
It goes kind of like boingy.
It's very boingy and springy.
It's funny. I was at work the other day, and
it's like a weird color though. That's why I gave it to you.
It is a weird color.
It's an uncomfortable color.
Yeah,
it does.
It kind of looks like booger.
Yeah, it looks like boogers.
I think there's something wrong with it. Like if that was real and you had sex with it, you definitely get some sort of infection.
Well, they'd be undead of some sort. Like it's not a good color.
Ooh, zombie penis.
Yeah, right. Like it's zombie penis adjacent.
Oh, I have a question
about zombies
and ghosts, maybe. So if you die and then you come back as a zombie or a ghost, can you get an erection?
Okay, so it depends on who's writing it. I love we went to the same place with that.
Because like because in like vampire lore, there's so many different ways.
Ghostbusters. Do you remember the scene in Ghostbusters?
No, I don't, because Ghostbusters scarred me for life.
When I was
really?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
When I was 3, my dad put Ghostbusters on and fell asleep, and I was terrified, and I didn't sleep in my own bed for months, and I was fucking I still have not.
Do you know what's funny? When I was 4, I saw Ghostbusters, and I was obsessed with it, and I watched the shit out of that.
Yeah, see, we're two very different people.
Quite. Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing Ghostbusters. I think I was too busy watching like murder.
Disney. Yeah. Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, Disney. Yeah,
Disney murder.
murders.
There's a lot of murder in Disney.
Yeah, all the
Offspring.
parents.
Yeah, right.
Scar.
Nobody's parents. Whoa.
What?
Oh,
That
What?
that's
tracks.
why my parents are dead?
Jack, you're a Disney
'Cause
princess.
it's-
I'm a Disney princess.
You're a Batman / Disney princess.
Damn, I gotta get rid of bucket nuts and find me a prince.
So speaking of,
You're probably just gonna find one like the horse from Tangled.
Oh.
Janneth Carter has given up on magic these days. She's done being curious, insatiable, dreamy. She just wants to finish her graduate degree and spend the rest of her life as a sensible archaeologist. So the last thing that she expects when she goes out to her dig site on Halloween night are 3 mysterious strangers standing outside the ancient Scottish grave. Okay, well, the actual last thing she expects is for those strangers to kidnap her and drag her into fairyland. But once in the vivid carnal world of Faerie, Janneth is at the mercy of the coldly lovely and incredibly cruel Stag Queen. Desperate to get home to her own world, she offers the queen that she'll be a willing captive and the queen's pet, so long as the queen promises to keep her safe until Janneth leaves Faerie. But Fae promises are complicated things, and nothing the Faerie, even pleasure, even love, comes without a price.
I really can't stop flicking it.
So if
You're
you,
really flicking
if
your
you die
penis.
with an erection,
I love how we go back to this.
then you definitely are a ghost with an erection or a zombie with an erection.
I think it really depends on the situation, Jack, because if you die with an erection, how long after do you turn into a zombie? Does your erection go down because, your blood
Well,
goes
no,
away?
because he took Viagra, and so it's been 4 hours at least.
What about
Okay.
rigor mortis?
Well, but I don't know
Oh.
if rigor mortis affects penises. If anyone listening knows about this, please let me know. I don't want to research it, but please do
I
email me.
do.
You can send me an email at queensofspice@gmail.com. That'd be great. I haven't gotten an email in a while.
Oh yeah,
miss you.
email us and let us know about penises and rigor mortis.
Yeah, or like, do you have any insight
Zombie mortis.
on zombie penises? It honestly
Do
hasn't
they
come
walk
up.
like
in-
this? Is that because of rigor mortis?
They walk with their arms out usually. And
Well, that's what I
yeah.
meant, but my things
Oh, your
are in
mic's
the way.
That's fine. I think again, it depends on the franchise because some are like just kind of
Do you know who we should
aimfully.
ask? Cillian Murphy, but he was in 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, and now they're talking.
Yeah, I'll
about
get on
doing
that. I'll
28
just
years
I'll
later.
just call him up and see what's up.
Yeah, I mean he's not busy. He's just done Oppenheimer, so he'd be fine.
Yeah. Also, Barbie was great.
Barbie was great.
What a great movie.
Barbie is great.
Everyone, you are enough.
You are Knuff. If you've also go see Barbie if you haven't seen it. Oh gosh, we're in the future. This is September. You might be able to see it. If not, watch it when it comes out on
We
streaming.
hope you've seen Barbie, and if you're a guy and you don't like Barbie, please know that's a red flag.
Oh god, it's not even a pink flag. It's a very red flag.
Very red flag.
We're not into that at
How
all.
boing it is. Boing,
You're-
boing,
This is that was a really good investment.
You
I
have no
really-
idea. I was at work the other day, and one of the girls was like, "Are you medicated for your ADHD?" And I was like, "I haven't even been formally diagnosed with ADHD." And now I'm like, I can't stop playing with the penis.
Listen, one of the things I always cringe about when I think back is my therapist asking me if I've ever been diagnosed ADHD. I'm like, oh shit, no. Should I? Damn it, Wayne.
And before that, she used to judge us.
Oh, I mean,
Well, she still does.
I
but,
still do. But that's
I
fine.
love how like.
But now she's one of us. One of us.
I'm joining the
Okay,
ADHD
let's
guy.
talk about this book more,
Oh,
please.
okay. So, yeah, the Fae Queens Captive. We should probably get back to that. So, Sierra Simone, who I mentioned, wrote the Priest series. Amazing series. Go read it if you haven't read it. This is a different ballgame. This is like, it's funny because I was expecting,
more.
yeah, but like the writing is even,
More.
yeah.
More.
She wrote Priest before this too because I looked this up. Because I was curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if she wrote this well before Priest and then got better. And I'm like, no, she wrote this after Priest.
She did a lot of research when she wrote Priest, though, and like you can really tell in the content how. I'm not saying that she wasn't invested in this one, but like you can really tell how well fleshed out Priest was compared to this one.
And I guess I don't know if it's fair to compare them either because Priest was like the series itself was so magnificently done, and like this is not to say it's not magnificent, but like it's a novella.
She says even though she really did not like the second book.
Listen, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean I don't think it was a fucking masterpiece. It made me very uncomfortable to read
That's
it.
wonderful.
You didn't like it when they used the
I don't need to
cooking
talk-
oil?
No,
as-
no, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Cooking oil.
It's
Wait,
not-
was this the one that had Pope juice too?
Yeah.
This was the follow up to Pope Juice, but yeah,
Oh.
Pope just 2.0.
yeah.
Have you guys purchased our Pope juice yet?
No, actually thinking though, like going forward in season 2, I'm gonna like try to put together the website finally,
Oh my
and I
god.
really want to turn into like a merch heavy website.
Amazing.
So like I'm gonna try to make some Pope Juice and maybe sell it. Do you know what I mean?
No?
Okay, we'll find out. We'll talk about it later.
Are you going to take it from the toilet in fucking Montreal? Oh my God. You could go in to the fucking Notre Dame Basilica and take the water from the toilet there, and then you could sell that. Pope juice.
Ashland's still got her friends. That's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
I'm making bookmarks.
can we add food coloring?
Absolutely. What color do you want it to be?
Well, I think there should be like
We can have different colors.
a series, like a rainbow.
We could definitely do a rainbow
Oh,
series.
Pride Pope juice.
We can do Pride Pope Juice. Yeah,
Ooh,
totally.
or like what if we get like stuff like the oil and water, kind of like different
Oh, density, so
densities?
they don't mix.
Yeah, so they don't mix. And like maybe like
Ooh.
a sparkly, like a tumbler. You know how they like make those sparkly, but like it's
Do you know what?
so
gonna-
fun.
Do you want to? It's gonna fuck you up. You know
Pope
what I'll do
juice
instead?
tumblers?
What?
Instead of that, I'll just put a label on it that's rainbow colored, and then it's just clear liquid. Genius.
Whoa.
Blow your mind.
Mind blowing. I'm making bookmarks though, so.
That's exciting. Yeah. I think we got some merch ideas. I think we'll
We already
branch
have
out.
some bookmarks.
We do, and I'm gonna do the coloring book, which I think will be lovely.
And I'm gonna make tote bags. I'm not gonna make tote bags. I'm going to hand embroider tote bags.
It'll be fun. Anyway, that's season 2. Stay tuned. I'm gonna have some time on my hands, given that I'm gonna be in Montreal.
She thinks she's moving. She's not really.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
as far as Jack's concerned, I'm staying right here.
She's moving into Jacqueline's basement.
With the hobos.
By moving, I mean Jacqueline's gonna tie her up and never let her leave.
I won't be moving, as the case may be.
Yeah.
We're now recording from my basement.
Yeah, spooky. There's too many spiders here. I don't like it. So Janneth, as I was saying, she's an archaeologist.
insatiable. She's an insatiable
I
archaeologist.
should have counted how
Oh
many
my
times
God.
no.
they
is
say
it
the
one
word
of those?
insatiable. Yeah.
Okay, you know when you notice those way more is when it's a fucking audiobook.
Yes.
Did you listen to
Or-
the audiobook of this, Ash?
No.
Right, because this is on Kindle. Yeah.
Just as on Kindle doesn't mean I just don't think I did. I didn't look for it necessarily because it was on Kindle sometimes, and it was a short one, so I don't tend to
Very
look for them
short, yeah.
when they're short, unless
Yeah, it's like 120 pages, 130
Yeah.
pages.
if it's longer, then I'll try and do an audiobook of it. That way, I can listen to it while I'm driving and stuff like that too.
That's legit.
Bing 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 bing.
So Janneth is an archaeologist. She's in Scotland, and they're trying to find this dude named.
Sorry.
Don't be sorry for art. I'll take a picture of that later.
I should just put the penis on her like face.
I had to put it on my forehead, and I smucked myself in the glasses.
Right in the glasses.
Right in the glasses.
Right in the glasses.
Right in the glasses.
Now you're a dickhead.
How much like has she had alcohol?
No, I haven't.
100% sober.
What
my
about
head
that
hurts.
green substance?
No, it's because my head hurts.
Also, congratulations, Minnesota, on legalizing marijuanas.
Oh, nice. Well done. A little late to the game, but
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you they legalized marijuana on my birthday? How exciting!
Oh, they did.
Canada, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday to me.
Now the
My sister went to Newfoundland that day, and so like flew with weed.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Now the states just needs to get that whole like reproductive rights thing back on track.
And women's rights in general.
Good job with the weed.
Good job on the
now.
Basic human rights would be
Women.
great. Yeah. Call
I
it
think
out.
Minnesota's okay on that part, but
They're bordering the Canada, so yeah, I would assume they're a little more
I just feel
progressive.
like I'm just lumping all of the United States in together in that like, please stop being on fire.
So Janneth, our BFF Janneth, who's insatiable.
okay, Janneth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Janneth.
Sure, Janneth.
Janneth Carter.
sure, Jan.
Sure, Janneth. Rachel's
Marsha.
Rachel's no idea what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So Janet's a grad student of archaeology. She's like 23. She is a fanfic enthusiast,
and she's insatiable.
and she's insatiable. You're gonna mention that.
Fan.
You're gonna mention it more times than the book actually mentioned it,
Probably.
and that's the ironic part.
I mean, we could do have a drinking game every time I say it. You guys have to drink.
Oh God, no.
Insatiable.
Insatiable.
Oh no, never mind. I'm thinking of a different word.
What were we thinking of?
I was thinking
Insemination?
of incorrigible. I'm incorrigible.
That's unfortunate.
I said insemination.
Yeah, that was a weird go-to.
Was it though?
No, not at all.
Does anybody get? Nobody gets inseminated in this one.
Nobody gets inseminated because this is a sapphic romance.
That should have been written in Jacqueline's notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should definitely start putting that in the notes.
If someone gets inseminated.
Someone gets inseminated.
Yeah, I'll try to remember that for the future. The next book we're going to talk about, someone absolutely gets inseminated. So, Janneth, grad student, archaeology, fanfic enthusiast, 23 years old. She is like, they're calling it a night after their dig. She's like, oh, I see some lights out in the dig site. That's weird. There shouldn't be lights out there. But like, oh, it's probably like, you know, it's Halloween. It's probably some kids being little fucks. I'll go down and like take care of them. They shouldn't be tramping all over the site. So she goes out, and her friends, like her coworkers,
Went off to the fair.
went off to the fair, which is interesting.
What kind of fair?
Like a
carnival?
like a carnival. Yeah.
Not
Was
like
there a
lobster
fortune
carnival.
teller?
Oh, I don't know. We don't actually go to the.
Oh,
we don't.
we
We
don't.
don't.
do,
We don't
you
visit it in
don't.
the book.
Oh, damn.
You do, but they don't.
What fan fiction does she like, by the way?
Fairy fan fiction.
Okay.
I bet she likes Star Trek fan fiction too. Spock and Kirk, very popular.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I just realized I was pulling on it as I.
Is that
playing
like
with
a?
it.
Is that like 2 in the pink, 2 in the stain?
Technically, Kirk don't have any pinks, so I mean, I think it would probably just be 4 in this thing.
Can I have urethral intercourse with you with my fingers?
I'm pretty sure that the anatomy doesn't line up with that one.
We could make it work.
Have you heard of sounding? You can make it work.
With the fingers, it would not work. With sounding rods, it would work.
But then, anyway, I'm not going to talk about the. Anyway, it's fine.
This is a train wreck of an episode, you guys.
Did you even read a book?
Happy birthday, Queens of Spice.
Happy birthday!
Unhinged. Okay.
It's bad when I know it's a train wreck.
And you're sober.
I can't stop pulling on it.
Pulling it harder. Do it. Yes.
I don't want to rip it off.
Oh, I have another one. It's okay.
Is it the same color?
No.
What color is
There's a
it?
purple one.
What?
One's a butt plug.
Does it have the same ridges?
Are they here?
No. I
Can
left
we-
mine at home. I'm sorry. I got a pack of 5.
We could have like had battles.
I gave the penis sheath one to one of my friends who's a guy. I thought that was appropriate.
What's the purple one look like?
It's a butt plug.
Oh.
It's big and plungy. Like, sorry. It's big and,
Plungy.
what's the word I'm looking for? Bulbous.
Bulbous?
Yeah, it's big and bulbous.
Bulbous is a terrible
But it's like,
word.
it's like,
an amazing word.
it's like the proportions are like, it's very bulbous.
Do you think you could like figure out a way to combine like it was like a moist bulbous something? Like what would be moist and bulbous?
Don't look at me.
Many things are moist and bulbous.
Okay, can we stop saying moist bulbous, please?
Would you like me to say moist panties instead? Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Queens of Spice.
Okay, Janneth. Can I talk about Janneth
Sure,
now?
Jan.
Okay, Jan.
We
So-
already did that bit.
She's insatiable.
So insatiable Jan, she goes out to the dig site to investigate these little like flamey dudes, like looks like flashlights or something.
Did you
flickering.
just say flamey dudes?
Yeah, flamey
Yeah.
dudes.
That's like
Will the Wisp.
Yeah, they're like
Oh.
wisps.
I was gonna say that's racist, but that's not the word I meant. Like flaming gay people, you know?
Oh, I meant like things that are on fire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, which not saying that gay people are hot, but like this is not
This
the
is a
instance.
sapphic
yeah.
romance,
It's a
dude.
sapphic romance.
I
so
don't know what
lesbians.
that word means.
Oh, lesbian. It means lesbian romance. Yeah,
Rachel doesn't like the word.
Is this our first lesbian?
I think
Romance?
officially, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is one of the things I picked it because fairies. I picked because queens, and I picked it because sapphic. So that's like
Okay.
3 things we haven't covered yet, and also Queens of Spice. We gotta.
Yeah, that was my
That was
That
Ashton's,
was my
yeah.
go-to when I mentioned it.
Yeah. So she goes to investigate the little flamies, and the little flamies turns out to be 3 people, who are incredibly hot, by the by,
Yeah.
obviously.
Super hot.
And they're like having a convo with her, and they're like, "Okay, well, we're leaving, and come with us." And she's like, "No." And they're like, "Okay, we're kidnapping you. Bye." And they take her, and they walk through this tomb that they had been like excavating, and they walk through the back of the tomb, and suddenly they're somewhere else. And
To the other side of the
to the other side of the tomb, but the other side of the tomb is Faerie, and Faerie is like the Fae lands where fairies live.
I love that in like fairy content, fairy is always spelled differently.
It's like the one thing you can spell whatever fucking way you want. It's right. It's always right. As long as you know what it means, then it's right.
So the land is called Faerie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that like calling our land human?
Kind
no.
of.
Well, I mean, they're fae. They're not fairies. They're fae.
They can be fairies, though.
I guess fairy is a type of...
Fae?
Well, fairies is a type of like a brownie would be a fairy or a, like.
Oh,
a,
yeah, okay.
like
It's a race.
Yeah,
But that's like to Jack's point, though. It'd be like common human lands.
But no, because like.
But they do actually use the phrase human lands. Like, oh, we're going to the human realm. So, like, that's, the Fae realm.
But like
Okay.
brownies and stuff like that would be like.
What does she mean brownies?
It's a type of Fae.
Chocolate? Oh, I love brownies. Only fudgy ones, though, not the weird cakey ones.
Agreed.
So brownies are a type of fae?
Yeah.
What about sparks? Are they too?
I see what you're doing there. Didn't they rename brownies?
Did they?
What are they called
Sparks.
now? Pathfinders or something?
Oh.
Sparks.
No, that's the younger brownies.
Yeah, they're the young ones.
Oh.
With the pink. They were pink. The brownies
I
just were
don't
brown.
know. I
Anyway.
have a boy, not a girl.
I was never in brownies.
I was.
I wasn't.
I was a Girl Guide. I was in brownies. Oh, yeah, man. Listen,
I
I know
was
how
in
to tie some shit.
Catechism.
I was in the churchy group.
I was also in churchy groups.
Not that I was a churchy person. It was just sort of like the version of brownies.
My mom was a teacher, so I didn't have to do any of that shit because
That's legit.
she had teacher hours.
Um,
Then maybe she didn't hate me.
Yeah.
you are the... Oh, man, of the three of us, you're probably the most well-adjusted, I'm not going to lie.
Which is terrifying.
That is
to really
terrifying.
fucking
Whoa.
think about
Yeah,
it.
right? Yeah, vicious. So,
I
Janneth,
know,
however,
terrifying.
if you'd like to get back to Janneth.
Is she well adjusted?
No,
Ah,
she's insatiable.
She's insatiable.
She is insatiable.
She's originally-
Oh, that Janneth. Insatiable.
She's originally from Kansas, which is very odd.
Kansas?
And so she's studying in Scotland for her undergrad. Or sorry, she did her undergrad in Scotland. Now she's doing her graduate studies.
Kansas the state or Kansas City?
Kansas State. That's all
Okay.
I know. I got nothing else. So she gets hauled off to in front of the stag queen in this case.
Yeah, because one of them wasn't one of the people, the Fae Queen's brother.
That's right. The three of them, they were Morven, who is her brother, the queen's brother.
Morven Nightglass.
Idalia, who's the one that has the moths, and Maynard, who's the bard.
I like the names.
I do. I like the names as well. This is the
Isn't that the guy from Tool?
Maynard James Keenan. Fuck yeah, it is. You're damn right. And A Perfect Circle, and Wine Country because
That's
he's
like
into wine.
really cool when you're a part of like multiple huge bands.
Yeah.
Even if I
and
don't
Pucifer,
like
technically,
them.
it's also a good band.
Oh, like Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff too.
Did you guys see the article or whatever where Dave Grohl said that he brought his mom on tour with him?
Yes, and she was drinking with Green Day.
Yes, and she was like, "Where are their moms?" Oh my god, precious.
Could they have like mom parties? That would
Oh
be
my
amazing. Ash, can your kid be a famous rock star so we can go hang out with them someday? Work on that.
If my child like makes it to adulthood and hasn't murdered somebody and or like set something on fire, then I think I'm doing pretty good.
So what you're saying is I shouldn't take him to set things on fire.
High hopes, jeez.
I mean, considering what we got up to when we were teenagers,
I only tried to light my house on fire a couple times.
I only
so.
lit myself on fire once.
Yeah, I mean,
I lit the
we're here,
carpet
we're
on
fine.
fire.
I lit the floor on fire at Rachel's house.
Yeah, we like sprayed pledge on the floor and lit it out.
and I slid across it and almost fucking broke my
Also,
neck.
Mom, turn this off. I haven't said that in a while, but please stop listening.
We definitely did not do that at your house.
I definitely didn't do it when Mom was home at my house.
Oh my god, the number of times we almost set Rachel's house on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, legit. Always your house.
Yeah, that's because I had no supervision.
And garbage cans. I was really bad for garbage cans.
Yes, you got in a lot of trouble. Or you almost got in trouble for that one.
Yeah, because the teacher, our principal.
Shh, we're incriminating ourselves.
I
It's statute of
scorched-
limitations is gone.
I scorched a sock. I put it on top of a lamp.
Not the same thing at all.
Like on purpose?
Yeah. I don't know why.
I put
Science?
I think science. I was very young, but I also set the carpet on fire, and then I tried to put it out with like taking water in my hands from the sink to the carpet.
we were trying to do like
We were doing black
Spell
magic.
work.
Yeah, we were doing spell work one time.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
the other time we were
no.
just fucking around being idiots.
I just wanted to see fire last longer.
You almost lit my mother's ficus on fire.
A
She would have been
ficus?
so upset.
A fiery ficus.
It was like an on fire ficus.
Fiery
Oh.
ficus. I set the garbage can at the fucking field
At the field on fire,
and
yeah.
I put the benches over top
Yeah.
of it.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so
my
Janneth.
Goodness, what the hell is Janneth up to these days? Come on now.
I think she's stuck. She's
Jan-
insatiably stuck.
She's insatiable.
So insatiable Janneth gets dumped in front of the Queen of Fae. The Stag Queen, I should say, not the Queen of the Fae. Her name is Morgana Nightglass. They are the Nightglass twins, her and her brother.
But you don't find out their names until like much later.
Well, Morven you find out right away.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
early on.
Morgana's name she doesn't find out.
Morgana, yeah, you find out like kind of halfway through the book, basically, because Janneth ends up being her pet. She bargains with her to keep her safe while she's in Faerie, because Janneth is like, she's basically there for a reason that she doesn't know yet, but the queen tells her that in 3 days she'll be released back to the human world, or she'll be able to leave Faerie, is how she
Who
says
has
it.
sex?
Okay. So she becomes the pet of the queen, which aka go on bang the queen.
I see that kind of pet.
But then she also gets like orally pleasured in front of the queen to prove that she's insatiable.
So before she makes this deal with the queen, she has to go to the ball that's happening at the beginning of Samhain. So she, gets warnings from all these people, of course, who are like, don't fall in with the queen, or don't make deals with the fae, and make sure you eat salt, and
don't eat fairy fruit. That was probably one of my favorite things about this, because like that is a thing that is like kind of consistent in a lot of like fae.
yeah,
DEFF. Don't eat fairy fruit.
nailed it.
What's that from? Or did you just make that up?
I just made it up.
Oh, but it is a thing, because like I read
It's always a thing. Don't eat fairy food. Generally, is the whole thing, but fruit specifically comes up in lore a number of times.
and like in Cruel Prince, the Folk of the Air series, it makes people like drunk, and then the fairies, like the fae, take advantage of that to be like not sexy, like, because it's a YA novel, but it like
Boring.
But they'll like dress them up in like rags and like make them think that they're royalty when really they're like rolling in pig shit and like stuff like that. Like,
Oh,
it's
okay. They really fuck with them.
Yeah.
That's worse than sexy times. Jesus.
So in this case, though, when they
Sexy
say fairy
times.
fruit, they mean the nectar of the fairy, if you catch my meaning.
I don't catch
Pussy.
any-
Pussy.
Oh my goodness, Ashton.
They're talking about pussy.
Well, they're talking.
Oh, so they're talking about like
Penises.
peaches and apricots.
No, they're
not
talking.
apricots.
They're talking about.
I don't think eating
The
ass comes into it
purple
anywhere.
one. Purple.
Eggplant?
Eggplant. Is that a fruit?
They're
Basically,
talking.
sexual fluids in general,
Okay.
or like even kissing though, because kissing does it too.
They're talking about any fluid that comes from the fairy body.
Yeah.
So
More
blood-
fluids.
yeah,
Moist
again.
fluids, even.
Would you fuck off?
I will
Rachel
not.
loves fluids.
She really has picked
What?
all of the books.
I'm all about fluids.
Fluids. Chug.
But like the most potent of all is the blood to consume fairy.
Correct.
That because that was one thing that happened. One of them, somebody got stabbed or something, and all the fairies came up and were like,
Okay. So this happens when she makes her deal with the queen, because they're
Yeah.
sitting at the dais, like amongst this ball,
Yeah.
overlooking like this huge orgy that's going on, because we're in fairy and that's what you do.
So
and
to answer your question, everybody's fucking.
oh, everybody's
Okay.
fucking. Yeah, specifically the fae are fucking a lot, and the fae themselves, like when they fuck other fae, it's not quite the same as fucking humans, because when they fuck humans, there's like this whole other like level of intimacy and stuff where it's like there's like this finite existence that like they have like this desperation in them versus the
It's
fae
like-
who live forever.
It's like an oversaturation thing. Like
Yeah.
the fairy, like the fae don't have the same response to sex that humans do or insatiable Janneth does, because they do it so much and it's just like second, like it's just
It's like
something that
breathing.
happens. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. So it's kind of like, it's not the dead fish fucking, but it's like,
it's so routine.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
It's
this is no
pedestrian to
different
them.
than like having a pie. Like, you know, where,
I would like to have the pie. Thank you.
how'd you like your tea?
I don't like tea, but I will have pie.
Versus like the human, which is what kind of leads her to make the choice to give herself as a pet, to show like how she can give the queen something that the other people in her court can't give her, because she has that response and she can get into the moment and she can have that like it is all about that for her then, versus the fairies who are like
Just routinely doing things.
Yeah.
The fairies
dead
are
eyes.
already very satiated,
Mhm.
so she's like, yeah.
She's insatiable. So to prove this to
Insatiable.
the queen, she goes up and invites herself to this orgy, and then they make her like come several times in front of the queen. And the queen's like, "Yeah, I'll take your deal. That's fine." But before that happened, you were talking about the blood thing.
Yeah.
So
Somebody from another court shows up.
so a messenger from the court of thistles.
Yeah.
Who is
Thorn
like
and roses.
no, not quite.
I love how she said that, but she has no idea what it is.
the
Who,
court of
me?
thorn and roses.
Yes.
Yep.
It's a book series.
It is. You made it. Well, Akatar. Yeah.
Whatever.
So, this messenger from the court of thistles.
Akatar. Did
A
we
court of thorns and roses. is
Right,
Akatar.
right.
Very good, Janneth.
Gold star.
Rachel's just like, no.
So, when they're sitting on the dais, this is before the orgy situation. The court of thistles had sent a messenger with a gift to the Queen of Stags, and
To the Queens of Spice.
to the Queen. What did they get us?
I'm suspicious of this gift.
You should
You
be.
should be.
So, this is like the
It's
court
like a
of thistles.
dildo covered in gonorrhea.
Whoa.
Is that like a Trojan horse, but different?
So the next book we're gonna. No,
The look on Rachel's face as she thought about that for a hot second.
I think about everything for a hot second.
His penis is really jumpy.
You're really jumpy with that penis.
Oh my god, that laugh was incredible.
It's just so springy. I
I
love
don't
it.
know if I've ever heard Rachel laugh like that before.
I like flicking the head.
Yeah, you
it
do.
does. It feels so fun.
Yeah, do you want to flick it?
It's like flicking a bean, but it's a little penis.
Whoop, whoop.
How exciting.
NBFA. Oh, guys.
Rip.
Oh.
Are we gonna-
I was going through my yearbooks the other day. I'm not gonna lie, 'cause I'm packing stuff.
We should change the name of Queens of Spice to
The National Bean Flickers
Flickers
Association. The Court of Thistles are like kind of the rival court. They're the unseelie
Unseelie.
court to the Seelie court, which is, Jack, do you know anything about the Fae?
I do not.
Okay, so the Seelie are kind of like high Fae, and the Unseelie are like kind of low Fae, for lack of a better term.
It's
or
kinda
standard
like-
Fae.
It's like there's so many different lores behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in some cases it's like night versus day. I read one where like Unseelie were night and Seelie were day, and like that's where
Like the
ri-
stars and the moon and the night
yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
day.
And it's
yeah.
you can see a little bit the same thing in Akatar too.
Mm-hmm.
And then within like the Seelie versus Unseelie, then you have like the different courts, which is like Court of Thistles, Court of Stags.
So yeah, so in this case, like the stags are like more neutral, and the the thistles are more chaotic, is how they describe them. So in this instance, the Court of Thistles had gifted the queen this bracelet, and
murder bracelet.
So she's like to the messenger.
Magic bracelet.
It's a magic,
Magic
murder
murder
bracelet. Nailed it.
I want one.
So that you don't.
Rachel, you do owe Rachel a murder.
Oh, you owe me one murder for that pie I brought you.
I
Yeah.
do.
I think
Thank
we
you for
agreed
the
that I
pie.
got to pick the murder.
No.
You were mediator.
You
We have to,
may
yeah.
get to pick it if we do not agree on a
Correct.
murder.
So one murder. So in this instance, she makes the messenger try this bracelet on because she's like, yeah, sure. The Court of Thistles, who's like our fucking arch nemesis. Obviously, they just sent me a gift to celebrate Samhain.
And there's something
Obviously.
there's something to do with like them being responsible for her mother's death or something.
They did kill her mother, technically. Yeah. Technically. Well, again, this is a novella, so like a lot of stuff is historical on this.
Yeah.
And so it's like you don't really get the whole story.
I really wish there was a lot more fleshed out with this.
Yeah, where it is a novella, it was just like she probably wrote this in less than a month. Like it was just, like there's a lot to be desired in that there's so much story here that just never got fleshed out. So when she gets the messenger to try this bracelet on, messenger gets like murdered and is just like
By
these-
thistles.
By thistles, like these thistles
Thorns.
and thorns like roll up his arm and like eat him alive.
they come
basically.
like from the bracelet.
From the bracelet, yeah. So she's like, surprise, you're gonna fucking kill me. Whoop-de-doo. And so she just like leaves the corpse there.
with the bracelet still on.
No, I think they take the bracelet off.
They do.
Why would they do that? Because then it could murder other people.
I think to put it somewhere, like to hide it, to keep it.
I can't remember what they end up doing with it. Again, it's stuff
Yeah.
that never comes back around.
Oh.
So they haul him off to the dungeon, but there's like blood all over the floor, and so all of the Fae, to your point, Ashton, in the orgy are like drinking up this blood because it's like hot damn, this is like go juice, it's delicious because fair blood,
Right.
Go juice.
go juice. So she,
It's the booch.
I have such a love hate with kombucha. Kombucha,
We
delicious.
just
The
hate
booch,
it.
not.
Yeah.
And
It's
think
the
you're
booze.
crazy for drinking it.
That's fine. I like my fizzy alcohol in the morning. That's me. I'm obviously a hipster.
She loves her booch.
I just love booch. There's nothing. I could just have booch all day, every day.
Why does that feel like a thing Ken would say?
Oh, Ken, who does beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, His job is beach.
His job is beach, and he drinks booch at the beach.
I could see him drinking booch at the beach.
Yeah.
I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would drink booch at the beach, but I don't like the beach, so I would just drink booch.
Rachel doesn't like anything that involves her being outside in nature.
My God, do you see how pale I am?
Well,
This is
fucking
wonderful.
nature's brutal, man. Shit tries to sting you and bite you and burn the shit out of your skin, son. I'm looking at you, girl.
I took Rachel swimming at a river once.
Why? Why would you do that?
Because
to
it was
your
hot
friend?
as fuck.
It was really hot.
Yeah.
It was like last summer.
So we were swimming in the river, and so I took my son there this year. And did you know what happened to him?
Oh, I know what happened to him.
He ended up covered in leeches.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Millions of leeches.
Leeches for
Millions of leeches.
Yeah.
Leeches for.
He wasn't that upset about it,
Sadness.
though, was he?
Yes, he was at
Oh,
the
okay.
time. And then
When he was telling me about it, he was amped. So
yeah, and then he get
Well, it's a good story after the fact.
yeah,
Sure.
the leech between his butt cheeks.
Yeah.
And he pooped out leech.
Did we talk about this before?
I don't think
I don't
so.
know.
I might have cut it out because it's leech talk. We don't do leech talk.
Leeches are
Leech
gross.
talk.
But everyone should watch
Is
Stand
that a
By
thing
Me.
on TikTok?
It is now.
Leech talk. We're making it a
Aren't
thing.
leeches the ones that they download torrents but they don't see them?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
They also
Yeah.
are used for medical practices.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
to distill
so
blood. Yeah.
interesting.
Very curious.
So Janneth is insatiable and gets railed. No, she didn't get railed. She gets like pleasured
She gets pleasured immensely.
immensely.
Sorry, do the Fae drink the other Fae blood, or is it humans drinking Fae blood?
No, it's Fae
Fae.
drinking Fae blood.
Okay.
But if the humans do drink Fae blood, it's like it sends them overboard. And,
and
so
they can't leave.
right. So here's the thing about
Oh shit! So does Janneth drink any?
no, but here's the thing about the
Drink something
humans.
else.
So if they are in Faerie too long,
Right.
without consuming salt from the human world, then they will be trapped in Faerie forever.
Oh no!
So that's
no.
Oh,
No.
I don't want to be trapped in Faerie forever.
right. So she just
or
has to,
do you? Do
she
you
just
like
salts all her
Faerie?
food. Well, so there's in
Just would she bring salt with her?
No, they have to provide it.
right.
Oh.
So in
That's
well, they
nice.
don't have. There's a treaty that they had agreed to years and years previously with like someone who had settled there in the human realm to provide human salt on all the tables where food was being served, but it was never added to the food themselves. So they had to like look after themselves. And to that point, the queen actually makes sure she's looked after in that regard too. She makes sure that she has the choice of staying or not staying in this instance in so many ways.
I like that.
It's
Should I stay or should I go now?
It's a thing.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's like more than just consent. That's like ultimate consent.
it is.
Again, we're back to like people being decent and everybody being like,
Bars
"That's
on the
so
floor."
sweet."
Right?
Oh, it's so sweet that you want her to live. Aw.
So
You want her to have
Aw.
a choice? Oh, amazing! Consent's important.
So, she goes after the to do. She goes back to her room. The queen agrees to this bargain, so she's going to be her pet. She goes back to the room, and do you remember when she goes to and from her room?
The
These, like,
flowers.
the leaves,
Believes.
the leaves on the floor, like
I like
direct her
that
where
too.
she's going. I thought that was really cool. It's a good little
Oh.
touch.
Like they just appear.
They
On the-
just
on the
flow on the
ground,
floor. Yeah.
I don't know
love
why I
it.
made that noise. That was weird.
That's probably not the noise they
When
made.
you're handling
but-
that little penis like that too, it's really there you go.
What's the deal for?
So okay, so Janneth has to stay. Janneth is staying in Faerie for 3 days, and then at the end of Samhain she can go home.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the premise of this book. She was kidnapped for this reason.
Right.
She doesn't know all of the details yet, but that's the case. And so while she's here, she makes a deal with the queen to keep her protected and safe in that amount of time.
Okay.
And by doing that, she makes herself a pet to the queen.
So
Insatiably.
otherwise, she would be
She'd
like
be free game,
attacked
potentially.
by Fae?
Or like abducted again, or you know what I mean, like used to some degree. Like
Right.
anything could happen to her.
Care because she's insatiable.
Well, that Ashton.
You need some plot, Ash. There's got to be some plot.
Ashton.
I thought you said we.
You
needed
can't
pause.
just say that.
What?
Like, just because you're insatiable doesn't mean you'll just fuck anyone.
If you read this book, you would understand that yes, she would.
Okay, but you can't just assume that about people.
Because it's a whole like part of her personality too. That like,
It's a part of personality she shut off.
well, that she shut off because like she's worried she's too much, and she make sure she's dead, and like all of this stuff, and it's like
So she's a real person.
Yeah.
We worry about that shit.
So she goes back to her room, And then she's like, she takes her bath or whatever.
Horny.
'Cause there's whatever. Yeah, she's horny. So she's like,
always horny.
she's like, I want to go somewhere. Where should I go? And she leaves, and she looks at the leaves, and she's like, I want to go somewhere, but I don't know where. And she's like, no, I definitely know where. And then the leaves take her to the queen's place.
Oh my goodness.
And then she
Gives the queen a
fingers
bath?
the queen in the tub
Yes.
and bathes her and whatever.
That's when you realize that the queen has like the
The glass in her back?
yeah.
Yeah, that's why they call it a night glass.
I fucking love that. Was one part I really like, and this is the thing with this book is like there was so many little things that I was like, ooh yes, give me. that I
These
would've
little
wanted-
details that would
Yeah.
be fleshed
Ashton's
out.
insatiable.
When it comes to romanticy, I am like all those little extra things. It's like when I get into a romanticy book, it's like all those little like fantasy components where it's like you find out the both of them, the twins, have that glass paneling, and one is in the back, one is in the front, and like it makes them vulnerable. And like, why, how, give me more,
And to what end?
and to what end? And then it's just a part of them.
And to a point, like when the queen goes to sign some treaties with one of the other courts, she wears an open back like dress.
Yes.
To show off like this, to wear it as a weapon almost. But like, you can see me, you can see this vulnerability. I mean, I'm not scared of you.
So what's this
Okay,
glass?
so her back, you can see through her back, like her flesh is glass, so you can see into her body basically, and
like you see her spine?
yeah, you can see her
okay.
spine and her organs and stuff.
And it's even more detrimental to her brother because his is in the front, so
And
you can see his heart and through his ribs and stuff like that, which I thought was a really interesting and like unique kind of component to like a character development, I guess, to a point. But then it just was like nothing, and so I like. But that's what I live for fantasy novels. Like that's what I live for with fantasy novels is like all the extra stuff, like we were talking about with Fourth Wing, like the dragon politics. It's like things like that is just like you're giving little sprinkles, and I mean with that one, you're gonna get that information later, but it's like
This is a one shot.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like get like why, how, tell me more. No, you're just gonna fuck in the bathtub. Okay.
Nailed it.
While I can see your spine, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of
But
pretty.
you don't know why.
I think these.
No, like I mean, it's cool, but
Oh,
it's like,
also-
it's kind of weird to be like, okay, I can see your spine.
It's just
but
an aside.
we don't know why.
Well, her last name's Night Glass. Like it's a whole thing. Part of her family
Aesthetically,
trait.
it's aesthetically like this. That was one thing that book did really well was the aesthetic of it all.
Right, because if you remember when the queen comes, she makes rose petals fall from the sky.
Yes.
That's CUMS, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Adalia,
Idalia.
and like
Yeah, with the
the
moths.
moths. Like
She's
there
moths
was-
follow her around.
Yeah, there's like, and her like outfit is made out, and like all of the little things, like the aesthetic of it was really, like it snagged you. So I wanted,
It was definitely a very visual book.
And the
Yeah.
leaves, like making the trail. That
Yeah.
seems fun.
yeah. Minus like it was just about her being insatiable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I still have another question.
Of course.
Why do they kidnap her? Like, why do they want her there for 3 days?
Okay. So this is where we get into the thick of it. So as she finds out, which I think is near the end of it, because they do, for Samhain, they have like a whole traditional things they have to do. So they go on the hunt. The queen has to like basically hunt a stag because she's the queen of stags. And so like there's a party afterwards and stuff. They do it a couple more times. And so basically like the last day that she's there, they're going to the night market, which is the cornerstone for all of the books in the series. They're going off to the night market to close the market and sign treaties with the Court of Thistles. So her brother that morning discloses to Janneth kind of why she's actually there.
Oh,
And there's like they tiptoe around because again, like
There's a
Janneth never asks directly, so nobody ever lies to her, and nobody will give her the truth because they don't want to, because she's supposed to be a tithe. So basically,
A what?
A tithe. So it's like a price she has to pay in order to accomplish something.
Okay.
So in this case, the queen is giving up something she loves wholeheartedly, and
you find out too that
she's been watching
her.
Janneth for over a year. She can see her through mirrors because that's a fairy thing again. They can watch you through mirrors. It's like a supernatural thing.
Creepy.
Yeah, so she's been like watching her for the last year, like here and there, and then made a point of like that's who she wanted to bring in because she was like already in love with her, sort of thing, having watched her for so long. And so that was the thing that the queen was going to give up in order to strengthen the barrier of Fae, basically. And it's something that I think it's every 7 years they have to do it, and it rotates from all of the different houses. So last year was like the Court of Thistles. This year was the Stags. I can't remember who was next year, but
I don't know if it says.
It does
or
say
whatever, something like
I
that.
can't remember. It does say because one of them has to
Teeth.
come and witness what happens. Janneth is supposed to be that sacrifice, so that's why she was kidnapped originally.
But the Queen of Thistles is the one that shows up for this one because they do the whole like.
That's for the treaty. So the stags, stag meets with
right.
thistles in that big. It's like a big top
Pavilion?
almost pavilion, yeah. But it ends up being like when they walk inside, it's like a forest. It's one of those like kind of
Again, aesthetic.
Like a
yeah.
magical tent that
It's a
turns
magical
into-
It's a magical tent.
Yeah. And so you find out like also that the night market is
Magic.
well, it actually exists in the real world, like in the human world,
Okay.
and it is camouflaged as a carnival. And so the carnival her friends went off to was the camouflage for this market.
Oh.
Which is also where-
So do they see the friends at the
This was days before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or sorry, days after the friends would have went there.
It's also
Right.
where Romano goes to meet his witch friend.
That's right, yeah.
They become lovers,
They sure do.
and then she magically pegs them.
Yes.
Do we go back to the human world at all?
So this is
Like-
technically in the human world. So the night market is located in the human world. So basically, if Janneth wants to escape, this is where she has to escape.
Okay.
So-
But I guess I just mean like her friends or her colleagues. Are they like
They never
Where
talk
the
about.
fuck
They
is
never
Janneth?
talk about her again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where Janneth go?
Again. Well, like to
Where's that insatiable bitch go?
Where's that insatiable bitch? To Ashton's point, though, like this is a novella, and there's none of that stuff is flushed out.
Okay.
So like it just like it tells the story, and then it gets out. Like
Is
that's-
it flushed out or fleshed out?
I think it's fleshed out, technically. FLESHED. Yeah. I know. I always say flushed out because I'm like, it makes more sense to flush something than
Yeah.
just to flush
I
something.
don't
But
know.
whatever.
Flesh.
That's a nice penis you have there, Ash.
Suck my dick.
I will.
So okay, so the
Not.
queen wants to sacrifice her, but also she made a deal to save her.
Okay. So,
What the
So
fuck?
Jack.
Okay.
So she tries to run away. The Queen of Thistles has a conversation with Janneth after Janneth pleasures her because there's a whole thing.
Several times.
Several times. And basically the Queen of Thistles like tells her about like how she can escape and here's how to do it and all this stuff and basically like setting her up to leave because this is where we get into the fairy politics of all this shit. If Janneth is not there to be sacrificed, then the queen will sacrifice herself in order to close the gates,
Okay.
in order to stop war from happening amongst the Fae.
Essentially, if it doesn't happen, then the fairy is open to the human world, and like the humans become like not sacrificed to, but like they can come and fuck with the fairies. Can
Well,
come
and
fuck
vice
with humans.
versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fairies will destroy the humans. So,
So nobody
it becomes a
wants
whole thing.
that.
Nobody wants that. No,
Right.
not and especially not the Fae people. Well, I mean, some of them do.
I mean,
'Cause
I'm
the
pretty-
unseelie probably do, but
I'm pretty sure the humans don't want it either. They just don't know that they don't want
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Consent, tea and stuff. So
Tea and stuff.
tea and stuff. So
Wait, I said I don't like tea earlier. I didn't mean that sort of tea.
we know what you meant.
Okay.
It's okay.
I like iced tea.
Is it iced tea? No, it's hot tea. Well, then I have no idea.
Same.
I like mayonnaise.
Close. SNL.
I want more cowbell.
No cowbell. What did I just say about cowbell? So the queen of thistles wants the queen of stags out of there because they used to be one house, and so she was trying to form a treaty with the queen of thistle was trying to form a treaty with the queen of stags by marrying, like they were going to get married together. But the queen of thistle, she wanted the queen of thistle's kids to take over both of them together, so they wanted to reunite their courts. And so if she's dead, that also accomplishes it. So if Janneth runs away, it's in the best interest of the Queen of Thistles because then the Queen of Stags will kill herself. And then she gets the court anyway. It's easier to take it.
Right. Supposedly she'll kill herself.
Right. So, but here's what happened is that Janneth gets caught trying to escape. And then
Caught by who? Anyone important?
she's caught by Philippe, actually.
Ooh,
Who's
Philippe.
another, he's another human he actually ties into the original story of why the archaeologists were there. The archaeologists were looking for this like Hugo de Segovia place or dude. He was like a Spaniard who was crashed a ship like 400 years ago or something. Anyway, Philippe was one of his crew members, and he ended up here. So there's this big tie-in back with the thing. Anyway, blah.
They're looking for a castle that he had
He described,
and had finding, and they
which
couldn't
was the
find it.
Faerie castle.
Yeah.
Surprise, because he ended up in Faerie
400 years ago.
400 years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
hence the archaeologists.
And he aided the fairy fruits. We don't know who or what.
We don't know what. Yeah, it's again, it's another thing that like it's an aside and it's a plot point, but it's never fleshed out.
Right. Not important.
Take that penis away from you.
You will not take my penis away from me.
I actually won't. I'm just.
I was gonna say you're not gonna touch this.
So Janneth gets caught, and then the queen releases her, and she's like, "You're free, Janneth. Like you can go. I'm like I would never. I loved you, or I love you, and I want you to live, and you should
Be
live."
insatiable in the human world.
And so, if you remember early on, I think it was Morven said to her, "A life paid doesn't mean a life killed."
yeah, because there's a whole like
Because the fairy never do anything straightforward. This tradition to closing the portal, it's supposed to be a life paid, is what you're supposed to give.
yeah, and there's like not tradition, but like
Lore?
Yeah, like there's a whole lore to it that they follow. This is the thing we believe it. A faith.
Oh.
A
There's
doctrine?
A faith. They have a faith that this is how things go, and so there's interpretations to it that which and they haven't been able to figure out the proper interpretation, so they just do it straightforward and murder
People, yeah.
Yeah.
And so in this instance, when she's leaving, she's just about to she's gonna walk through the portal, like she's gone. Morven shows up, and he's like, "I was just seeing you off, making sure you left," basically, or in some instances, making sure she came back, because Morven, who is her brother, would have taken the crown technically, and then would have been married off, whatever. But he does not want the crown. He has no interest in being a leader whatsoever. So he would but he also doesn't want his sister to die. And you get this whole tone throughout the book where it's like, he doesn't really care for his sister. He doesn't really like her, whatever. But at the same time, he's like, I also don't want her to die, though.
Right.
So don't ever fucking tell anyone I told you that, but I don't want her to die.
He's very much that like
Morally gray.
and the stereotypical like Fae character that just doesn't care, like very apathetic about
Very
things and
apathetic.
just like selfishly concerned about their own well-being, and like you can tell like he's only really doing it because he doesn't want his life to be inconvenienced, and yes, by not inconveniencing his life, he also saves us, like that kind of thing.
But he also kind of cares about his sister. You kind of get that vibe to a point.
To a point.
So Janneth kind of susses this out, mulling this whole thing over, and she comes to the conclusion that a life paid doesn't mean a life killed. And so what she ends up doing is she ends up sacrificing her human life to stay in Faerie in order to stay with the queen. And therefore her life sacrificed is not a life killed.
Oh, so does that mean she just stops eating salt?
Yeah. She basically pledges herself to the queen.
And she eats pussy.
She eats pussy instead.
Can you imagine just stop eating salt? Oh,
Rachel did that.
I know. I
Yeah, it
was
was
just
actually
thinking
pretty easy.
that.
Wasn't too bad at all. I mean, stuff gets bland, but you just, sugar.
I'm sure the pussy didn't get
Gross.
I heard it's very sweet and citrusy, which Jack's about to read.
Oh my god.
So by
I can't put sweet and citrusy on my popcorn.
you can put imitation butter though. That's like a dildo.
What?
Not quite the real
Wait.
thing. Still really good though.
What? How are we Okay.
So Jack, I'm gonna get you to read something.
Great. I'm super pumped. Wait, how often do they have to do this, like, close the land
7
thing?
years. Every 7 years. So it switches from court to court. They do have they close the night market every year, but then this is on top of that. So it's also like kind of a hush thing. They don't really advertise that this is like they're killing somebody every 7 years basically in order to accomplish this. Because it's like,
but
it's
everyone knows.
Well, no, but
No?
mostly the people in charge know, like
Oh, okay.
all of the like the heads of houses and stuff, and like their immediate family and counselors, they know, but like the fairy people don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, the general population doesn't know.
Correct.
And can it be anyone that gets sacrificed?
It has to be someone they care about or someone they hold deeply.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, let me read about this citrusy pussy. Woo! Would you like me to be your pet now? I whisper. It doesn't even occur to me to be shy about it, to try to hide how much I want her, or to hide how much I want her to want me back. I could blame it on the fruit, of course, and pretend I'm too stoned to keep up the pretense of easy Janneth, but I won't. Even without the fruit earlier today, I felt the same, like keeping hold of that flimsy, colorless version of myself had become impossible overnight. Impossible once she told me that everything I did would be pleasing to her. And she seems pleased now, or at least aroused, because her eyes flash as she leans in to kiss me again, and her hands are demanding, eager, pulling me close and then finding my hips, my ass, my breasts. Yes, says the queen finally, shoving up my dress to curl her fingers over my clothed pussy. Now. Always. I moan into her kiss as she plunders my mouth and then give a surprised exhale when she pushes me onto my back. I'm cushioned by ferns and leaves, and so it's not at all uncomfortable, only a bit cool and damp, and that's no bother when I'm running so hot all over. She's kneeling over me with her knife once again in her hand. I have a moment of cold, clear worry, which simmers into something so molten I can't help squirming as she slides the point against the soft fabric of her breeches and then cuts them open with an impatient flick. She tosses the knife aside and tears the fabric even farther apart so that her sex is bared to the open air. She moves over me, swinging her knee easily over my head so she can straddle my face. She reaches down to drag her fingers to my chin, parting my lips, and then she lowers herself to fuck my open mouth. I'm not prepared, could never have been prepared for the unmediated taste of her. Sweet and warm, almost citrusy, with that deep flavor only pussy has. And then, just as with her kiss, just as last night, there is the taste under the taste. And if her kisses were enough to get me stoned, then licking her cunt is enough to send me flying. I feel every thread of life around me, every breath and whisper of stirring leaves and searching tendril of mycelium. I feel her, strong, hot, the muscles in her thighs and hips quivering, her blood rich as an entire universe in her veins. I feel myself, the quick pants swelling my lungs, and the twist in my belly, and the restless kick of my legs as my body searches for friction that isn't there. And then, as I pull her erect clit into my mouth, I realize I can feel her pleasure too, like we're connected, like the sensation shivering through her is universal, radiating out from her and into the rest of the world. And with a cry against her flesh, I climax with a shuddering seize, without having even touched myself once. I buck and writhe underneath her, the orgasm too hard to bear, because it's not just in my body, but in my mind. Like all of me is releasing, clenching, releasing, and though it's hard to see anything but torn breeches and scarlet tunic and flashes of the gold leaves, I know she must like this, that this pleases her, because she stabs a hand into my hair and rides my face like she paid for it, or bargained for it at least. I'm no stranger to having a lover sit on my face, but no one has ever done it like the queen is doing now, giving me so much of her weight, her hand twisting hard in my hair to give herself enough leverage to fuck my mouth with short, sharp rocks of her hips. I feel pinned, used, blissed out as fuck, and I can't get enough of her even as the fading orgasm still ripples through my cunt. Each taste is another blow to my sanity. Each new rush of slickness is the end of everything I ever knew and the beginning of everything I ever wanted.
Insatiable.
Insatiable.
Thanks for that, Jack.
Mycelium.
It's very like flowery, like the way Sierra wrote this. It's kind of nice, where it's like there's, again, you were talking about how like there's so much like artiness almost. Where,
Aesthetic.
Yeah, the
But
aesthetic.
I find that's how she writes in general.
Yeah.
Like, I found that Priest was the same way. There was this like this artistic nature to the porn that you're
it's
reading.
like prose.
Yeah, like it's like Shakespearean porn.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Listen to this line. She licks me off her fingers as fastidiously as a cat might clean its paw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love the way Sierra writes. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's quite
like
nice.
I said, it left me wanting so much more. But again, because I live for romantasy books, like that is my fucking jam.
Yeah.
And I really like, I love the Folk of the Air series. I just wish there was a little bit more.
It's interesting because I want to say a lot of Sierra's
Pussy.
writing, a lot of Sierra's.
Did you just say you want more pussy, Ashton?
Rachel made me put my cock over there.
Eat out more often. A lot of stuff Sierra writes is realism. It's like, because I have another book from her I'm going to read. It's called American
Girl.
No
Queen.
Prince.
That's a series. Make sure you're reading it in order.
Oh, thank you. I'll do that.
There's 3 as far as I'm aware.
Cool. I read the back of it and I did not get the inkling that it was part of a series, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a series.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that series too, again, like just normal kind of.
Yeah.
Like not like the same with Priest, where it's like it's ingrained in normalcy. So like reading her kind of high fantasy stuff is very interesting, and I was like, I would love to read Sierra Simone's high fantasy more. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because she's just like such a lovely writer.
I find that when you get into that like romance version, like romance authors writing fantasy, you can sometimes get caught up in the romance format, so you get lost. The fantasy sometimes gets lost, and I almost felt like it was like the opposite with this, where there was like so much fantasy that the romance tended to get a little bit lost, but also I wanted so much more of all of it that maybe if it had been a little bit more like you would have gotten that like fully kind of well-rounded. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and I mean to that point though, like the Fae Queen in general felt very distanced.
Yes,
because it was written like kind of from Janneth's point of view. We didn't get a lot of like what the Queen was kind of processing at the time. So like she felt like a very distant character that was just participating in the romance, as opposed to like Janneth, who is like the main center of it almost.
I think that's a writing thing, not necessarily like a fantasy thing in general. Because like I'm going to keep comparing this to Folk of the Air in that like the whole series is written from Jude's perspective, but you have Carden, who is the cruel prince, and you still get so much about Carden, and like that you find out about Carden that he still doesn't feel disconnected the way the Queen feels disconnected, but also no, because he's supposed to be like aloof, and she feels aloof.
She doesn't. But so the way I read this is that the Queen is distancing herself reluctantly from Janneth because she knows what she has to do. And Janneth is not she does not have the same reluctance because she doesn't know what is coming for her.
Yeah.
And so she's all in because she's insatiable.
Well, it's the unreliable narrator component of
Correct.
it too, right?
Yeah. Which I mean, I always kind of like, again, with Fourth Wing was like that too, where it's like you only got that one perspective and you're like, you have no idea what else is going on in other people's heads. And it's like, oh, fuck yeah. Like sometimes that plays really well into the story. But where this one is so short and there's like so much stuff crammed into it immediately, you're like, okay, that character just came off as like aloof and disconnected.
But I think too, part of it is when we get into these books, and a lot of the books that we tend to read have dual perspectives, so you do get that back and forth, and that really feels like a romance kind of component. Where
for sure,
the books that we're now talking about are romance fantasy, which is a different format again. So maybe that has a part to have something to do with it, or maybe it's just the small sampling that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's again like not all authors are created equal, and especially like Sierra, she gets so in the head of her characters, and so it seems odd to me anyway to have a character that felt disconnected in this.
I would argue too, though, that the aloofness of the character really speaks to Fae lore to a point too, because fairies are supposed to be very.
Especially as a queen.
Yeah.
She has to present herself in that way.
So, I mean, maybe it was done on purpose.
Very well could have. Yeah.
And if it was, good job. Very well.
That's how it came across. Nailed it.
Yay, you did it.
So we got to rate this book. What, I mean.
Fruit? We
yeah.
can rate it out of fruit?
We can rate it out of fruit. How many fruit do you want to rate out of Ash?
I don't know. Rate it a pussy.
Out of pussy. So there's, I guess, like, 5...
Figs. Let's rate it out of figs.
Let's rate it out of 5 figs. How many
figs a fruit?
They are now.
Yes, they are.
How many figs would you rate this, Jacqueline? Based on your limited knowledge and everything else we talked about.
I'm gonna rate it 1 pan of fig Newtons.
How many real figs are in that, do you think?
Translate
Like
translate
3,
that
maybe 2?
recipe wise.
3.
Okay, thank you. Ash?
I'd say 3. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing. It was. I wanted more. It did a good job making me want more.
Insatiable.
Now it made me insatiable. I find that that's me with fantasy books in general, though. Is like just get that like.
I don't know if you knew this, but Iron Wing comes out in November.
I know,
And so that's like 2 months out from when this comes out. So soon.
listen.
Insatiable.
Shadow Daddy.
I'm going to upgrade that to a 4. A 4 out of 5. I love Sierra's writing. I would very gladly read anything that she's ever written. It's such a joy to read her work, and I fall in love with it every single time. And then it makes me feel shit, and I hate it. But
So Sierra, if you've got any like shopping lists, kicking around,
I mean,
send
if you've got a
Rachel's way.
to-do list, I'll totally read that, no problem, and then I'll fantasize about it. As for like the Fae component, like well done, very well done, I think.
Yes.
I've read a few fairy books and fae books in general, and it's like it's so like it felt so historically accurate, for lack of a better term. Like,
Yeah.
it felt so like like it was so seamless, like it felt right.
I guess similar to the way she did her research with
Priest
with priests
Yeah.
and like the churches and stuff like that. You can tell that she like with the Seelie and Unseelie, because there is so much lore there and you can get bogged down and that's so hard, but like there's information there that like, because once upon a time when I thought I was going to write a Fae romance book and did the research myself, like a lot of it kind of resonated with stuff that I had looked up and researched myself. So
yeah, and I think going on what you said too, Ash, if she wrote an entire series,
Yes.
fantasy romance series, I would be over the moon to read that.
Oh,
And
hands
so
down.
and like especially after having read this, I'm like, oh my god, you would do such an amazing fucking job with that. Like, please give me that.
Yeah, the flowery, like very like
it's
pretty.
it just paints such a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it would be so lovely it would be such an honor to read that.
Give us Father Bell,
Fae romance.
Fae romance.
I will be the first in line to pick that up. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think 4 to 5. I loved it. It's wonderful.
Excellent. I love that you loved it.
So that's season 1 in the bag. Do you want to talk about something else that you've read this week?
I read not 1 but 4 books.
Go on.
I've been on a bit of a Megan Quinn kick.
Hell yeah.
Because fuck yes. Now, Megan Quinn, who is notorious for her like rom-commy, funny, quick-witted, that was not this series.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I ruined it for myself because I went on, I'm in her like Facebook group, and I went in and I went to look up fan casts for the main character.
Okay.
And so the series is called The Duets, and I got the audiobook. It's The Duets. So it's 2 duets. The first one is the Blue Line duet, which has the upside of falling and the downside of love. And the second one is the perfect duet, which is the left side of perfect and the right side of forever. So the reason I'm lumping them together is because it's all the same 4 characters. So in the first book, you're introduced to Colby, who is now, and I have to say this because I'm not really big on military style stuff. Like that's not really my
Even though 4th Wing is an amazing book.
yeah.
Respect.
And I've read like several. Anyway, so Colby is he's in like the Air Force and wants to become a pilot. He had a really shitty upbringing. His dad died when he was young. He was really close with his grandfather, and his mom married his dad's doctor, who became his stepdad and was abusive to Colby. So he was always told he was never going to become a fighter pilot, and so that was his like goal in life. So he's home on like vacation, or not home. He's like staying with his friend Strider, and Strider wants to go to a party. Colby doesn't want to go, and so Strider pulls the like, "You're staying here," so
Peer pressure.
peer pressure. He gotta go. So he goes, and when he goes, he meets this girl. He's like, God, she's fucking gorgeous. She wants to know him, and she's like, I need to know this guy. And she asks him all questions and he doesn't want to answer. He's very like closed off, and she eventually like they hang out a couple times and she worms his way in. Her name is Rory, and they start dating, but they start dating through like writing like letters to one another, so it's really cute. But I ruined it for myself and found out who he ends up with.
Oh no.
And I was like, now I'm devastated, and I really didn't want to finish it.
So is he the main character in all 4 books?
He's the main character in the first one and the third one and the fourth one. He is not the main character in the second one.
Okay.
Because, spoiler alert, I'm going to get into this a little bit. She ends up breaking up with him because he's willing to give up and like take a break because he's supposed to go off to like flight school. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, you can't do that because she can't leave because she has a brother who has disabilities.
Listen, legit.
Right?
You got to leave your dreams.
Yeah.
Go be a pilot.
And so she's like, no, don't do that. So she breaks up with him. And then he goes, and then his grandfather dies, and he comes back. And he sees his best friend who didn't get into flight school because there's things there. And he's like, walks over and he's like, hey, man, blah, 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 whatever. And then he's like, will you come? And he's like, no, but we should catch up, whatever. So he's there with his like flight buddies. And they're like, oh, is that your friend Strider? And he's like, yeah. He's like, he seems to be doing better. And like, yeah, he seems it. He goes, and one of the guys is like, yeah, I'd be doing a lot better too if I had a woman like that on my arm. And he's with Rory.
Womp womp.
But anyway, Rory has a best friend, Ryan. Mm-hmm. And so in the second series,
good female names,
right?
I love it. Like
her name's Aurora.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Yeah. Good name.
So Ryan and Colby like hook up at Strider and Rory's wedding, and then
Jesus,
yeah. No, not at the wedding. They get really drunk and they hang out at the wedding, and then they hang out after the wedding, and that's when because he's off in like Vegas. So she decides she's gonna move to Vegas. Anyway, it's this whole thing, and it's really sweet. And he just, her mom was like super abusive and not abusive, but like
manipulative.
She was a chunky kid, and like. Her mom was like, she busted her pants one day at school when she was like 12, and her mom's like, I told you not to wear that, and if you hadn't have worn that, then you wouldn't be like that kind of thing. Anyway, it's like, it's so sweet. And like, I discovered that men in flight suits is a thing that I'm like apparently attracted to. Right? I would never have thought, but it's very like heart-wrenching and not as funny as what she would usually write.
Oh, because like I would expect, like rom-com, like you said.
Nope.
Oh,
nope. I was like,
got it.
This is the book that I was reading, and my son was like trying to talk to me, and then so I had to take the headphones out, and I was like, are you talking to me? He's like, yeah. And then he started talking about One Piece, and then I put the headphones back in, and then I started crying because grandfather died and all this stuff. And so he's talking to me again, and I take my headphones out, and he goes, Luffy, blah, 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 blah. Are you crying? And I was like, yeah, the book's emotional, okay? Like, I'm at a very emotional part. And he looked at me and he goes, emotional damage. And I was like,
I love your kid.
Fantastic.
He's
Thank
great.
you.
He is great.
And then he goes,
where'd that come from?
It's TikTok.
It's a guy.
Uncle Roger.
Uncle Roger.
Really?
Yeah, it's an actual thing. It's old, though. And so he's like,
he's so old. It's like a year old.
It's not current, and now my kid is like acting like it's current. And so he's like, why do you read books if they're just gonna make you cry? And I looked at him, I was like, why do you talk to me if you know my headphones are in? And this is why my child is the way he is.
I mean, that tracks.
That's amazing.
So anyway, right? So the book series is called The Duets. It's lumped together as an audiobook of the 4 of them together. It's by Megan Quinn, and it is
you love feeling shit, don't you? It's like your favorite thing.
Listen, if it's feeling shit about things that are not existing in my own world,
right?
Yeah. Touche.
Like,
it's so different when you can feel things that
other people
don't actually.
Yeah, I don't want to feel my own feels. I want to feel other people's feels.
My therapist would say that you have to feel your feelings.
Shut
Ashton.
up, therapist. Nobody cares.
Fair.
Don't judge me.
I pay money to hear that, so you don't have to.
What are you going to do when you move away?
Something terrible. Get tattoos. So Jack, what have you been up to?
I've been coloring my sheet.
Ooh, okay.
I drew some leaves and footprints.
Yes, you did.
Because it's the way.
General.
It's the way to sex and general shenanigans.
Oh, you're trying to spell shenanigans. Gotcha.
I was like, shit. Okay, cool.
I spelled it wrong twice, and then I got it right.
Yeah, it's a tough word.
Yeah.
Have you been consuming any content this week? Can we talk about?
No, just the same old. Lots of true crimey. This one podcast that I really liked has its new season going on right now. And it's a way different format than all the other ones. Like, it used to be about trying to see whether people were wrongfully convicted or not, like go through their cases and whatnot. And this season is all about missing persons cases, which obviously, like, I want you to find missing people around and whatnot.
Just not in your podcast.
Yeah, and it's just like they're doing
I just
like,
don't want to read about it.
yeah, well, listen to it. But they're doing like one person every week, and it's just kind of like,
Get a little dry.
yeah. So
I am trying to find a private eye mystery smutty book for us to read.
Oh, dear
By the
God.
by.
oh,
So just stay tuned for
We've
season 2.
already done tentacles
Yeah, we have.
twice. No,
Just once.
just once.
what does that have to do with mysteries and private eyes?
Because there was a book series that I put her
Oh,
onto
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
that-
mystery
yeah.
and tentacles, and that's why
Yes.
I'm like, we've already done tentacles.
We can do more tentacles. Well, thanks for that, Jack.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
If anyone has any recommendations,
Oh yeah, if you have any true crime recommendation podcasts for Jack, please send us an email. You can hit me up on social media. We're on the Instagrams and the I guess Twitter. I am on Instagram Threads now too. If you want to
What's that?
it's like Twitter for Instagram.
Oh,
It's where we're at.
it's where we're at.
it's
So-
Mark Zuckerberg's new Twitter since Elon Musk changed it to
X marks the spot. So I want to talk about the other Fae book that I read when I was in the hunt for Fae books. It is called The Curse of the Wolf King.
Oh yeah.
By Tissonia Odette. All Gemma Belfleur wants is to leave her past behind and forget the day scandal broke her heart. But when she's captured by a trickster Fae King who threatens to hold her for ransom, she'll find herself at the top of the gossip column yet again. Plagued by the curse that will soon claim his life, the human-hating King Elliot will do anything to save himself, and if Gemma can use that to her advantage, she might be able to bargain her way to freedom. All she has to do is to help him break his curse. There's just one hitch. To do so, she'll have to trick someone into falling in love with the beastly brooding Elliot. With a devious alliance made, their scheme begins, bringing Gemma and Elliot into very close quarters. Soon, an unexpected desire stirs where once there was only hate. But Gemma must fight it. For when the curse is broken, Elliot will return to his true form, a wolf, and will be lost to her for good. Can Gemma sacrifice the budding feelings and save the king's life? Or will love force her to give up something even greater, her heart?
Every time you said brooding Elliot, it just made me think of my dog. I'm
Yeah.
like, he's not brooding. He's sweet and
He's a
loving.
handsome boy. I love him. It was a very Fae book in that, like, it was so funny at a lot of spots. Like, it was no. Like, when I say funny, I mean almost like embarrassing funny. Like, they would try to have these schemes and like hatch these harebrained schemes, and then they would like fall through or something. Like, oh no, you were pretending to be a lame wolf where you hurt your paw and I'm going to rescue you, but that's ketchup. That's not blood. So what are you doing? Like, that kind of stuff. Like, and you to any passerby, they'd be like intimidated by this thing. But the main character, Gemma, she's just like, what are you doing? Like, what is going on here? Like, are you trying to trick me? Like, what's happening? And so there's a lot of like weird little funny anecdotal things like that happen throughout the book. They're just like amazing.
you silly goose.
Yeah. And then again, it's another like curse breaking thing, which a lot of the Fae things end up being like curse breaking
Yeah.
or curses and like,
Oh, curses.
well, I mean, that's the whole thing with the Fae, where it's like they're tricksters. And so it's like trying to find like the loopholes in the problems they have is a really big part of it. So like when you come across a Fae book that has a really strong like puzzle to sort out, I'm always really appreciative of that. But
Ooh, I like puzzles.
yeah, right. So it ends up being this little puzzle of like, oh, how are they going to figure this one out? And the reason I didn't pick that book is it wasn't very spicy. It wasn't super
Sounds
spicy.
very like Beauty and the Beastie.
I think actually it was supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast style retelling, I believe.
There's not a lot. That's a lot. Like, that's almost a trope. I
Yeah.
think it is a trope in and of itself. Is like the Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's like Akatar is like that. For the Wolf is like that. There's a lot of them that have that, like, oh my god, like there's so many of them. It's not even funny.
Yeah, and they end up falling for like the Beast, quote
Yeah.
unquote. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
We love the Beast.
Yeah. So that was The Curse of the Wolf King by to Sona Odette. So highly recommend that one. It's a good read.
That's a whole series too, isn't it?
I don't think it's a series. I think they're all in the same universe. I think it's one of those ones. Yeah.
But it's part of like
it's part of a group
similar
of books.
to the way this is a part of a group.
Correct.
Of books,
Yeah,
but by the same author. I'm pretty sure it's on my list.
Oh, good. Yeah, I definitely read it. Like, it's a good book, but just didn't seem appropriate for the podcast. So I was like, oh, cool. Well, this is
kind of like the Fae Cruel Prince one. It's like, I want you to read that so much, but like,
there's some books that are just like they're too much.
Listen,
because like even Fourth Wing was almost too much, but that's like.
Oh, not for the podcast. I mean, just in general. I mean,
for the podcast.
No. Just in general. Like, I'm a whore for.
Just leave it at that. You're a whore.
Yeah, please be like, what's the little teaser? I'm a whore.
Like, so many of these books, you have like the character who doesn't realize that they have the powers, and you know what I mean? That like.
They're the chosen one. They don't know.
Shocking. Yeah. Or like something happens. And
it's like meta because like we're reading it, and so we know the main character. Something's gonna happen.
But that was the one thing with the Cruel Prince and the Folk of the Air series is Jude never once, because she's a human girl living in Faerie, and she has to adapt to living in Faerie because she was kidnapped / not kidnapped by her sister's father, who was Fae, even though she and her twin sister are not Fae, and was raised as Fae with Fae gentry. And so she has to exist as a human within these Fae community. So her power and strength needs to be her intelligence and how quick-witted she is in order to go through all of this stuff. And it's so refreshing to see a character that is strong and powerful because they're just smart, opposed to being like, oh, I secretly have this power, or I secretly have this thing, or I was actually born this way, or like those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, like that was what Fourth Wing touched on too. Was that like, and that was the thing, that the reason she was as powerful as she was and was always going to succeed more than her predecessors was because of her intelligence, and because of her cleverness. Yeah.
I mean, it almost like, but even with Fourth Wing, she still had like, you knew she was going to get powers because. Yeah. I mean, what Fourth Wing did really well was like. Didn't negate who she was because of the powers, which was really, really great. It's stepping off that, like, I'm going to say cliche, but I don't mean cliched in a bad way, because sometimes cliches make you want to read a book, but it steps off that cliched step for a minute and gives you a little bit extra. It's kind of like we were talking about Love Theoretically on the drive down. Like, yes, it was predictable in a lot of ways, but it didn't, there was a format that it just kind of like stepped away from, which was refreshing because you knew what you were getting, but also you would send a message to the group chat. There at this point, I'm only halfway through. What am I in for? Am I going to be okay? It's like.
Also, read Love
Theoretically.
Love Theoretically, because jeez fucking Christ, it's so good.
I know,
it's so good.
Like,
I'm shooketh.
Jack Smith supremacy.
Like dead.
Oh, listen, so good.
Anyway, that's off topic.
Happy anniversary.
So happy anniversary.
Happy
anniversary. Thanks for a year, guys. I really appreciate you sticking in there. The next time you stick it in there. The next time we're back, which is the launch of season 2, we are reading a Centaur book. You're welcome, Jacqueline.
Prepare yourself.
It's called The Centaur in My Valley by L.V. Lane.
My valley.
Yeah, it's in your valley, all right. So we'll talk about that next time. Ash, don't you stay in there, buddy. You got it. You can.
Doesn't wear pants.
Just doesn't wear pants. I'm so sad. Okay, well, thanks for that, guys. We'll see you in season 2. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Queens of Spice podcast. You'll find us on Instagram and Twitter at Queens of Spice. Or if you want to send us an email, you can reach us at queensofspice@gmail.com.